is that we generally mail out. All right. So you guys see me also mailing out a lot of these things, right? So these are two more that are going out today and in the mail. Now, what are they? You might see me say contracts. Sometimes you might see me say accepted deals or a combination, right? Um, so there's really three things that you're going to be mailing out typically. And I think somewhere in the area here I've detailed what one of those packages were. So we'll take a look at each of the packages anyway because um, gives you a better understanding. First of all this paperwork is in. I use the members area, but if you downloaded the paperwork, you can use that, or you can use whatever paperwork that you're going to. Maybe you've already using it. Maybe you're a real estate investor already, and you've got some of your own paperwork that you're using. All right. So, but this is how it kind of goes down. First of all, uh, if you're dealing with the high end land flips, then if I'm doing a contract and I'm sending out one of these envelopes saying it's a contract, then what you're sending out in that is a pretty much just a cover letter, and then you're sending out the actual contract. So the contract on the high end is the more detailed contract, which either you downloaded or in our members area, it's also available in there. Of course, everything here is available in our members area for our master class members to basically auto fill out, so you're not having to go through every minute space and try and figure out, okay, what goes there, what goes there, what goes there, and did I miss any of the spaces? This is what drove me crazy because I do a lot of deals, and so I had to build a software that would cover all of that so I wouldn't make mistakes. When you're doing volume deals, your biggest problem sometimes is making a mistake on your paperwork. So the least or the less amount that you have to input information on a line by line basis, the better it is for you. So that's how come I designed the autofill generator to allow you to go in there and clearly see, hey, this is where your name goes, this is where your address goes, this is where your phone number goes, this is where the date goes, and then where their information goes. And this is where the legal description goes. In fact, we have that so simple. You can upload a picture, so you can just take a JPEG or whatever picture, any kind of digital picture, can be uploaded into that software. So now you've got that, so you're not having to type out the legal description and then running the risk of typing in the wrong lot or the wrong block or something else in that legal description that causes you to have an error on your deed. So for so but despite that, however you draw out the paperwork, here's the paperwork. So again, this is the contract. Now this is for the high end flip. It's a more detailed, right? It's 3 pages of information. Not really the third page, but basically it's 2 pages that really just hammer this deal in, so you have total control over this, and it auto renews by itself. So even if you put in, okay, I'm gonna tie this property up with the seller for a month and a half, all right, which is typical, right? It just auto renews unless they cancel it, and they have to cancel it, within certain guidelines and stuff. So it's well written to protect you. Has all the disclosures that allow it to say, okay, well, you're not an agent either representing the seller. That's another thing that's getting a lot of people in trouble out in the house industry. Not so much, of course, in the land, but you know what? We're taking care of that anyway. So that goes out if you see for basically the high end home. So you're doing a high end flip. Basically, you've got no money into it, obviously, right? You've got, well, all of these you've got no money into it. So except for mailing, there's always a mailing cost. Now, so what you're doing, you tying it up with this contract, and boom, at that point, you've got a lot of time now, and essentially to sell that property. The other one that you'll see me mail out, in fact, both of these going out today, all right, as well as the last few days that you've seen, or last week that you saw. Those are deals that's already been accepted. To me, like if you accept my deal, and I've got a deal with you now, that means you've already accepted my price, and so there's a couple of different closings, and you know that from reading the book how the two different closings, whether that's a really cheap lot, low end lot where we've got a piece of property for just dirt cheap, like less than $200 typically, and that's what these two are here going out. These are like less than $100 each, and in that one, it's just a special warranty deed, and it's a closing statement. All right, so that goes out, and once they sign that, they're going to send that back to me, and that's when you often see me with one of these envelopes. When it comes back to me, and I only use this color. This color means nothing. I know some people ask me, where do you get those envelopes, and do I have to use those envelopes? No, you don't have to. I use them just so I know, in my mailbox, because I get back a lot of mail, I know right away which are my deals so I don't lose track of them. You can get a big old stack of envelopes, and even from the side, this blue, yellow, this red and blue will stand out. So it's really hard to lose one, which is easy to do in just a stack of white envelopes. So I just do it. That's the only reason I use that envelope. It's just so I can see it and spot it immediately, especially if it's in a group. Then, so they'll send me back this deed with in that envelope, signed and done, right? So, and then the steps in the course or the book even tells you the rest of that. The third kind is if I'm doing the typical vacant lot flip, and that contract is a real simple one pager, not like that other one, which is really tiny print and everything. This is much bigger print, but you can see this is what I call it a one pager. I just print it out on 2 pages though, and I increased the font, so it's a lot bigger than normal, because sometimes, as you guys know, we work with a lot of people who are older because they've had these lots for a long time, right? They moved away, they're out of state now, they've retired, they're never moving back to that, and that's a part of what makes our people motivated, right? But a lot of those people, they're older and their eyesight goes, and so I'm aware that what you need to do, or what you should do, is make sure that your font is big enough for them to read. That other one, the high end, that's typically I'm dealing with oftentimes I'm dealing with a younger person anyway. It doesn't make a big difference on that one because it's a little bit more intense in what we're putting together there. But these other ones, these are kind of like what I call bread and butter. So it's just simple to just make just increase the font. So my one pager is a 2 pager that goes out with a cover page, all right, which just basically steps them through the process of what they need to or what they need to do with it. Just basically sign it and send it back. You can't never just send a blank contract to somebody either, just because you can, right? And expect them to know what they should do and where to sign. I go one further step, right? On all my contracts I send out, I use the little tags, right? So I'm going to tag where they should sign. So you make it so now they've got a cover letter telling them that okay, here's your, and by the way, I've simplified it for you. I've just shown you one copy. This is the original copy, or the basic copy of what I put in the envelope, but I make a second copy for them, right? So then I use stamps. So I stamp them, and some of you have seen that where I use the original and a copy. So I stamp the 2 different versions, copy and original, and you can get these at Office Max, obviously. And that way it makes it also simple for them to know what to keep. I've had these, I've learned this the hard way because they've called me back, or they've, and I'm talking to them, and they're saying, well, which one should I send you back? Okay, like they're both the same, right? But they need to hear it. They need to read it, or they need to hear it. Well, that's why we have the cover page, and that's why the cover page that's in the auto-generated forms, it's already done for you. It explains to them what they should do, what forms they should, fill out, and again, every step. Take this before a notary, sign this, sign it, and then put it in the self-addressed stamped envelope, because I also include one of those in there. All right, and I have my label on there, and I have a return address on that envelope too. There's nothing for them to have to fill out past going to a notary, signing it, and that's it. So we just make it the process. We try to make it as simple as possible for them, so that they go ahead and go through it and not say to themselves, as we all do, oh, there's a lot to this. I better, I'll get to this next week or next month. That's what I don't want. So I've got them agreed to a great price. I don't want to lose it. oftentimes, again, as you guys know, I try to bring the notary in at this point. Um, on any deal where I'm sending them money at the same time that exchange, I'm always using a notary. But these smaller deals, we don't have to use that process. So you can see, in the, especially in the course book, how we do that. I mean, in the course material, how we do that, so that we don't have to send money. I'm never going to send somebody money and expect and wait for them to send me back the deed. That's not happening, right? So I get them to send me the deed first, and then I pay them. And they don't mind, because again, it's not that much money, so it's not like that they think, okay, well, it could all crash and burn. Quite frankly, they don't care. Um, but that's the three major, or the three basic envelopes that I send out. The one that you'll never see me kind of send out, but sometimes I will discuss here, but rarely, is where I have done this all online, and I'm using a notary, and I'm sending this package FedEx it to the notary, and the notary does everything, and then send me back the package. So that's the fourth one. So those are basically all four ways that you're going to do a closing. This is actually our closing process. We don't go to a title company typically, although you can, and I go through that in the material in the book as well, showing you how to close those with generally an attorney, really, or a title company. I prefer always to use an attorney if I'm going to bring in a third party. But the paperwork is so few pieces to it, nobody really cares about going. And of course, as you can see, these are, especially these low end, it doesn't make sense to ever bring in a third party to close the deal when you're buying it. All right, so sometimes when you're selling it, but when you're buying it, I can't remember I've ever had a closing where, on these kinds of land deals, where I've had to close on the seller side like that, and this just doesn't happen ever. So I just want to go through that. If you have any questions, I will take some questions while I'm live right now. And hey, Michael, I see you there, buddy. Yeah, we can try and keep it simple and easy as possible. Nothing in life is simple until you really get some practice at it, right? Or easy until you get some practice at it. The more you do it, the more you bring in some software just to help you out, to make your life easier and make these deals go faster, the better, obviously. And then the longer you do it, the better you get at everything, including locking these deals down. I can literally be on a phone call. These two deals right here, my conversations were about, maybe they were 5 minutes or 2 minutes. I should open my software and see how long it took for me. Some of you know we use this new software that I just started giving away to our masterclass members, which will actually record all of your conversations for you. So every time you communicate with the seller in this case, or even a buyer, but mainly I'm using it for right now because I just started introducing it and using it myself. I'm using it to record my calls because I don't want to miss any of that information. In fact, on one of these, I have forgotten because I had about four of these come in. I still have two more I've got to do tomorrow. So I had all these come in, and I'm jotting down notes, but then I forgot something, and I needed to know how to put that on the deed. So all I did is went back into the software, pull up that conversation, or just pull up their record, and all the conversations I've had with them are in there sequentially recorded. So I can go back to the last one, generally is what I'm doing, and just listen to it, just play it, and I can hear the entire conversation again, and I picked up what I needed to know, and then boom, I make the tweak. Again, the last thing, and I've done this before. I mean, before I started recording my calls, I've made those little mistakes, and I sent out paperwork, and I forgot that, maybe one of the parties needed a different way to spell their name, or the address was different, little things like that, and will just slow your deal down or clog it up or kill it. Because if you're making that mistake on the front end before they've because this is the first impression they're getting from you, if your paperwork is screwed up, then suddenly they don't want to do business with you anymore, because let's face it, they're thinking, you're not really serious, you're not professional. This should be perfect. It should be title company perfect. If you're going to put something out there to them, it needs to be really good, and it needs to look good too. which is why we kind of format all of our paperwork the way we have it formatted. Um, you can upload a little logo, and so when you put your name in there, all that's formatted, on the title already, and so you're professional looking already with just this paperwork. That's another reason why I love the auto-generated forms software that I've created. I originally created it for myself, as many of you know, and then I adapted it so that everybody else in our masterclass membership can use that at Land Mogul. So you obviously get access to all of that because of that. But no matter whatever your paperwork you're using, make sure it's clean, it's as perfect as you can make it, as little mistakes. But remember this, you will make mistakes. It happens. It's always going to happen. You can't prevent it. And you deal with that mistake when it comes up. All right. So that's all kinds of stuff. Sometimes, and some of you have seen from my past videos, I made a mistake. A title company later caught it years later, and they asked me to correct it. What did I do? I could have just easily said, yeah, I'll correct it, notarize the paperwork, and send it over to you. But instead I said, I charge $125 for that, and I need that before I send you the paperwork. They said, well, no, we'll cover it at closing. And the title company's telling you that, they're good for it, right? So I did it, sent it over, and a couple of weeks later, I got a check from them for $125. That was to fix my mistake. I should have, but hey, that's the way the banks are, right? It can be your mistake, or their mistake, but they're charging you for it. So I'm just adopting what they do, and title companies have done the same to me, so I'm just adopting what they've done to me as well. If I have to do extra work, I'm charging somebody for it. Well, I hope that this kind of clarifies for you the four different ways or mailing out to the seller of the packages, and basically what goes in the package, and so you can realize what it is that we're doing. Michael, is the 2-page contract in the members area? Yes, it is. That's the standard one that you get. You actually have to drop down to the very bottom to get that. I call it the lawyer version of it. So that's the longer version of it. But the really customized one, though, is it's for that particular kind of flip. I mean, you can certainly use that lawyer version I have in there, but the better one to use is the one that you get when you get the high-end book and you select, hey, I want that contract, that expanded contract that comes with the high-end book, because that's that longer, just lock them down tight, and you can do anything with that property you want. You can flip it and do a double close. You can do an assignment off to the buyer with it, or you could do an assignment, as we teach in the high-end flip. Actually, it's an assignment technically and legally. It's an assignment back to the seller, but I still get paid off of it, and I'm out of the deal. So that's what that contract will do for you. It's basically the inverse purchase contract modified for land flips. All right, no more questions. That's it for me. I'm off to go drop this stuff in the mail, and then I'm going to go have dinner. Have a good day, everybody.